Hello, Mackie here, and welcome everyone to my 28th birthday. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. My birthday just left a day ago. So I'm now 28. This is my first ever league video being 28-year-old. And of course, we're still going to talk about Worlds. 57 days until we get to World Championships in China. There's so much sorted out just in positions and everything that is going to be taking place as we are about to enter the closeness to the end of August and then into the business end of the League of Legends circuit as we go to Worlds. So let's get into it. First off, the LPL. And oof. Uh yeah, something's wrong. Okay, let me just try this again. Let's just try this again. So let's talk about the LPL first, and we're gonna talk about BLG versus IG. Two good teams, two great matches so far, and then of course we get to Game 3, and BLG, which is dominating Game 3. They took objectives, they had some good team fights. The goalie was in their favor. At this point, around 30 minutes, they get three Drakes to one, 12-4 kill lead, and a 5,500 goalie or 5.5K goalie. And by the way, they got buffs. They got the buffs, of course, the boot buffs, if you want to call it. So at this point, you must be thinking to yourself, "Oh, well, again, this game is pretty much over. All BLG has to do is to hunker down, not play too much, and they probably win the game. Hell, they even know how to take the dragon, even though they have Articon already, they don't have to take the dragon. They're fine. They're good. All they have to do is not do that much, and they're probably going to win. Now, that is just a snapshot of, you know, the game. Here's how the game really ended. Yep, yep. BLG had a 5.5K goal league and everything to win that game, only to lose by, well, Gala, of course, because Kaiser, die. And that was it. That was it. From, let's see, from about let's just say 30 minutes 35, from about 30 minutes 25 seconds when IG was doing Drake and grabbing the second Drake, and BLG, all BLG had to do is they don't have to fight this. They don't have to fight this. You have three Drakes to one. You have a huge goal lead. You have kills. All you just have to do is to not do nothing. Doing nothing is fine. And all of a sudden, little by little, piece by piece, 31 35. About, I don't know, like, let's just call it 10 seconds later, the game is end. The game was over 10 seconds ago. That is just demoralizing. And that is where we started off this entire Cheese in China coverage with BLG absolutely playing the most throwable game you have ever seen. And IG is now 5-2, although you can say the record is skewed. Well, let's see. Um, BLG are now what, 8-3 after that loss. They're 8-3 after the loss. So I think this is kind of like misleading. Let me just go to a different site. So I think this record is kind of misleading sometimes. Let's just see. Yada yada yada. Let's see. Let's click on China, of course. Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. So as you can see, BLG are 8-2. Invictus Gaming are 6-3. And you can say that anyone's legends got their swagger back, winning 4 games in a row and all this jazz, which is great consider everything they've gone through. And I mean, literally everything. Oh, what do you mean everything, Hakeem? Well, let's just see if I can find a little piece of information here. Let's just see. Just stay with me, guys. Like, comment, subscribe if you like all that jazz. I have a sports channel, of course, dedicated to all things sports. So if you want to go there, please be my guest. Let's see. No, that's a beautiful day at the beach. Nothing there. Um, right. I think the LPL English mentioned about the whole Shanks incident. Let's if I can find it, maybe I'll find it. But if I don't, I can just have to move forward and move on. Let's see. Let's see. Um, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll just pause a couple of minutes and then I'll find it one, and then I'll come back to you. Well, sadly, I just cannot find the LPL English statement, but I believe it's more like because of Shank's behavior and everybody else, we are disappointed that we don't find any disciplining action for him and all kind of jazz. So they listed all the things that Shanks did and everybody else, and then you feel like, unfortunately, we cannot punish them. So sucks. So despite all of that, and despite the slow start, Weibo has have now won four. Sorry, Anyone's Legend has now won 4 games in a row and come from 2-4 to now 6-4 and into the top 4 along with IG and Billy Gaming, of course. So after all of that, they overcome this slow start and here they are back to where they are belong. IG are 6-3, BLG are 8-2, and Top Esports just locked in their spot into the bracket stage, of course, the top 4 bracket stage. While TWE and FBX occupy the first 2 of the bracket stages. Weibo, JD Jamin, Weibo, Gaming, and the rest will have to just chase for the last 3 spots. For Group Nevada is Ninjas and Pajamas, Edward Gaming, LGD, Ultra Prime, Thunder Talk, and LNG in the table, NEC, NIP, and Edward Gaming occupy the top 2. LGD and Ultra Prime will fight off. Thunder Talk and LNG are kind of way off, so I don't think that does matter. So yeah, and also big news. JJ is leaving IG as well. Sucks for him, but it is what it is. And in case many people do not like content, but Papa Sosa, one of the content creators for Lion, has just decided to leave. In case everybody knows that content creation is pretty much dead around these spaces. Ask David Shynock if you want to call it. Yes, Shynock. Just changed his name. His H is no longer the crazy name. It's now SHYKNOCK. That's his media handle for pretty much the rest of humanity. Now then, we're going to move forward with the LCK. Not much to talk about the LPL except that crazy game, of course, just finished. We're going to move on to the LCK. And unfortunately for 100 Life Esports, they have disappointed me. Like, I was ready. Like, if you look at the games, you can say that T1 and Gen.G beat 100 Life Esports and that's all that jazz. But if you look at the games microscopically, 100 Life Esports have T1 on the ropes. 100 Life Esports literally have T1 on the ropes in most of the cases. They were playing decently against T1. They were doing well. It almost feels like I feel like 100 Life Esports should have at least won a game or both games against T1. But T1 Showgirls have won again. They're one of the best teams ever. And Duran, by the way, won MVP. So I'm not that surprised. The Gen.G one was kind of frustrated to me in most cases. It's like Gen.G stomped them in game 1, then have a pretty good, and then of course they bowled over in game 2 and was thinking yourself, okay, if Life Esports were to beat Gen.G, that will create a statement. They did not. Gen.G crushed them in 28-13, and that was that. So if you look at the table, mind you, Life Esports are now tied with T1, but on game difference, they're 1 game less. But in terms of like psychological warfare and in terms of like, who's the top 3 teams in the LCK, it is pretty much like 1 and 2 Gen.G T1, and Life is like a distant third. A really distant third. KT and Nashi and Red Force occupy the spot, but it almost feels like cannon fodder to both Gen.G and T1 in all cases. The Rise group have D plus occupying that spot. FearX, Breon, and DRX are still finding the spot, although you say that DRX is fading away, of course, in most cases. Freaks are pretty much cooked. Got that third win, though, which is pretty impressive. I think they got that third win this week. Yeah. I guess OK saving Breon. Sorry, Degon, but that hurts. Anyways, that should do it for this week of LCK. Of course, Honor Life Esports will have a redemption tour to try to face off against Gen.G, which is going to take place next week on the 23rd of August. Then, of course, Gen.G will have to face Nashi and Red Force. T1 will have to take on Nashi and Red Force, the same thing. And then, of course, their last stand against KT roster, of course, on the 24th. So you can just basically say that this week is pretty much worthless. It's going to be like, unless Honor Life Esports can actually beat Gen.G, can actually do this, then I just don't feel like Honor Life Esports can even compete with those two teams. It's going to be like a domination of Gen.G and T1 this week, which is not going to be surprising, but here we are. Time for the LTA. Yes. I know. I'm supposed to be banning the LTA from my recast, but we're in the closer to playoff stage, so I have to do this. We're into the regional playoffs kind of thing, sort of thing. We're kind of into like the stage of like where we're gonna separate who's gonna make it to the playoffs and the elimination and who's gonna go out. And I like to say the Shopify Rebellion beat Cloud9. Oh my god, that is shocking. That is absolutely shocking. I think David Shynock said it that it is the second biggest upset in all of the LCS, in his opinion, which I think is true. Now, I think NRG beating Cloud9 in that LCS final like 2023 was kind of shocking because nobody was expecting NRG to even come here, consider that everything that's gone happening with the whole CLG selling thing and all this kind of jazz. Nobody was expecting NRG to do well. Now, Shopify, upset Cloud9, but Shopify Rebellion has been a decent good team in most cases. Now, of course, I kind of ranted when they beat 100 Thieves. Yes, 100 Thieves. But I think this team has performed pretty decently. They have show up in most cases. They have beaten some good teams. And this series victory was pretty much proof of it. Now, of course, we didn't get like all the games, of course. But unfortunately, we don't have the drafts and everything for all the games, of course. But Shopify Rebellion came out and played so phenomenally, of course. They played so phenomenally, and especially in that ending when Blabber was having a stinker, of course. Fudge was pretty good. Fudge was incredible in most cases, especially against his former employees, of course. And now Shopify Rebellion are pretty much locked into that Texas spot in the LTA Championship. And now pretty much like couple of games away from making it to Worlds. Like, imagine a world of Shopify Rebellion making it to Worlds. Like, I'm not ready for that to happen. I'm not compute for that to happen. And Cloud9, one of the two favorites to go to Worlds, despite FlyQuest, are pretty much an elimination station. That is not good. They need to get their act together, and fast. Because, of course, FlyQuest take care of business against Team Liquid. Although you can just say, it was kind of close, let's be honest. First game was kind of close. Then the second game is your traditional. It was a back and forth game. It was kind of tight, and then FlyQuest once again find a way to win. That's not the third time in the last couple of months that FlyQuest find the most BS way to win a game or win a match in some cases. And then Team Liquid kind of tilted their minds. Although Team Liquid started off strong, FlyQuest overwhelmed them and just tilted out of their mind. And also Masu just absolutely dunk on them on Lucian. Busio is an amazing Bard player. I think Shynock already mentioned. Busio Bard is magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. He is an incredible Bard player. Now, not as great as, Carrier, of course. He's not as great as Carrier. Not even close. But Busio's Bard can cook. He can cook. And I think FlyQuest are cooking right now to be much the best team in NA. And hopefully, for once, beat an Eastern team at Worlds. Just for once. We don't want worlds. We don't want anything else. Just give me that one North America win over Eastern region, and I will not complain about your team or anything like that. I'm just gonna complain about everything else that's going on with the LTA, including content creation. That is pretty much important. That's all I'm gonna say. Now we're getting into the business end, but before we do that, we got some other business to go through. Disguise versus Dignitas is pretty much the elimination station game. Although Disguise is pretty much not caring about this tournament at all. They care about like can they survive and can they not lose minions and all kind of stuff. So yeah, I picked Dignitas to probably win this one, of course. And then of course, Lion versus 100 Thieves. My boy David, my boy David Shynock, big 100 Thieves fan. He is he is realizing that he's at the end of his rope. He's literally at the end of his rope. If Lion beat 100 Thieves, and by the way, Lion have been improving, of course. And that is it for 100 Thieves. That is it for 100 Thieves in LCS this year. That's it for 100 Thieves in League of Legends completely. And right now, the way 100 Thieves have gone through with the whole sniper situation and the dysfunction about the team, and everybody's like looking out for each other and all kinds of stuff. It almost had that feeling of like this is going to end so badly for them. It's going to end in flames. And if Lion were to beat 100 Thieves 3-0, then nobody will whimper. Nobody will look up about it and saying, okay, 100 Thieves, goodbye. See you next generation, I guess. And this is going to be the saddest way to say goodbye to our team, to our region, or to a League of Legends ever. I have seen teams go out of their own shield most of the time. But this is pathetic, even for them. So I hope they get their act together. That will take place on Sunday, of course. Sunday, August 24th, 2025, ladies and gentlemen, would be 100 Thieves Judgment Day. And I hope it will not be a brutal one. That's all I gotta say. Flag race for the Shopify Rebellion winner will get to the grand finals. That'll be next week. That'll be 2 weeks. Sunday. That'll be the end of August, of course. And the winner will take it to the grand finals, and of course will qualify into the LTA championship that is taking place in Texas. Now, the LTA South also have a similar situation, a similar conundrum, in which we got Fury and Keen playing in the bracket stage, and then Payne and Cannons going through. Now you got Payne and Cannons playing on the 5th of September. Huh. So that'll be like a week after the LTA will sort out their match. Payne and Keen were not going to play until the 5th of September. That is wild. That is like, let's just see, 1, 2, 3 weeks. At least 3 weeks. Well, 2 weeks when it comes to Friday this week. And then you got 2 more weeks. So, but 2 weeks. I mean, 2 weeks' time. That's a lot of rest between these players, of course. And now we got Loud, and Fluxma, and Israel Liverton to determine who will be out. Imagine if you're Loud, one of the greatest ever Brazilian teams ever, and you're going to be like eliminated by, of all teams, a controversial team in Fluxio's W7M. That'll be absolutely wild for the Brazilian scene. Absolutely wild. Now move on to the LCP. And the LCP is we're into that stage of trying to separate the wheat from the chaff in most cases. Gam Esports won against SoftBanks, no surprise. And then Vikings beating PSG. Oh my god. Well, I was right. I was right about PSG not winning against Vikings. I was totally right about that. PSG has not won a game. Like, you're telling me the team with Azir, Kazam, Maple, Betty, and Woody cannot even win a game. Not a single game. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. You got all this quality. You even got the PSG name back. And you can't even win a game. This is horrible. Oh, all right. Sorry. I kind of opened my mouth, and then, PSG actually won a game. Okay, they did win a game. Sorry, they won a series. They won a series and a couple of games. So they're fine. They're good. Although you can say that this is just the worst of the group, by the way. You got DFM, SoftBanks, and Chiefs in the same group, so nothing too much. CTBC and GAM actually won, so of course they'll sort out a couple of games. And then of course we get to the real stage, which is the bracket, of course. That will determine our 3 teams to go to Worlds. So again, nothing too much surprising, just some seeding to take place. And let's talk about the LEC. When I'm gonna say this right now, G2 Esports got their swagger back. Oh yeah, they got their swagger back. 3-0, 3-1 against Fnatic, and of course their last game will be take place against SK Gaming, which I feel like G2 are the favorites. G2 looks like the G2 that I wanted G2 to be from the earlier year when they have the Labrov and Skumon lineup. And yes, you can say that G2 did not do well in winter, did not win winter split, and then did not do well in MSI, did okay in EWC in some cases. So internationally, they have not performed well. And mostly domestically, it almost feels like G2 have been falling off completely. But if you write off G2, even for a minute, they will always find a way to drag back into conversation. It's the Godfather meme of every time you're thinking G2 are falling off, they pull you right back in. And god damn, they pull you right back in. Especially with the performances we saw here this week. Fnatic series was not even close. Look at this. I know you're looking at this and saying, oh, 31 minutes. Those are long games. No, Akeem. Not in this season. Not in this season of League of Legends. Those are not close games at all. Not even close. 31:50 and then 5 seconds earlier than that. Skumon was brilliant, of course. He was MVP and pretty much destroyed all the Fnatic hype of like, hey, Polby is great. The team is communicating great. Fnatic might win LEC and shut down. Fnatic G2 just shut down all that hype and all that, prestige of Fnatic in just one fell swoop. That was brutal. And especially on Broken Blaze Champions. He played Scott, he played Kled and Rek'Sai. And by the way, Blabber played Rek'Sai in that final game against Shopify Rebellion and was not so hot. Broken Blade played Rek'Sai and he was phenomenal. And he's not the only. And by the way, he played Mundo. And once Mundo got like a quadra kill, of course, in that game against BDS, he just goes where he pleases, literally. By the way, he's the MVP. No surprise there. They kind of have a little bit of struggle against BDS, and then they kind of won. And then, of course, they crushed BDS down like twigs and beat them. And now they're 6-0, haven't dropped a game yet, haven't dropped a series. They face SK Gaming in the very first game of next week. Should win this one and then go through 4-0. And now looking like, not saying the best team in LEC, of course, but they look so solid. They look back to being G2 of like before this whole thing happened. So now have ramped up themselves to be like, now they look like the G2 that were supposed to be good all year round with all these changes. Because right now, Koi, despite the win against Na'Vi, does not look great. They did not look great. I watched the game. I watched the highlights. They did not look great. They did not look great at all. 35-minute win and then a 48-minute win against Na'Vi of all teams. Yes, Eloy is MVP, but I just left that feeling of like the whole Kai Havertz. I think it was Kai Havertz, right? Yeah, the Kai Havertz holding the trophy and just look absolutely sad. I'm just thinking about that image because I think Eloy does not even deserve MVP after that performance. That performance against this Na'Vi team is criminal. Give Na'Vi credit for actually fought hard, but if you're Koi, you're supposed to dominate the team. You're supposed to destroy that team, to be honest. And you can't. And I'm worried. And even K Corp. Like, I just watched the highlights between them and Vitality. And they crushed Vitality in 26 minutes. They crushed them in 26 minutes. I was thinking, okay, K Corp 2-0, pretty good. They're about to come back. And then, Lord Almighty, they just lost. They lost to Vitality. Why? Oh, Lord, this is just criminal, man. You should not lose to Vitality. Although many people are thinking Vitality should be good enough, they should not lose to Vitality. And now with the ripping of the Fnatic invincibility and K Corp and Koi not looking great, are we just seeing a G2 winning? Are we seeing G2 winning LEC split? I'm not gonna be that upset considering that G2 have not won everything, and this lineup has not shown anything internationally. So if G2 were to win, and we got like 3 different winners of LEC this year, that shows the competitiveness of the region, which is great. Love that. But my God, the rest of the region just not holding their weight. It's just not looking great. It's just not looking great at all. So yeah, a lot of concerning. So anyways, here are the groups. G2 Fnatic are through, of course. BDS, SK Game, and Heritage have to fight for the last two spots. And then Group A is pretty much settled. Carmen Corp are through as the top winners, and then you have Koi, Vitality, and Giant X fighting for the last spot. Navi are cooked for this year. Hopefully they rebuild and just get rid of Malrang from support because yeah, Malrang is just not it. And that pretty much should do it for the League of Legends review of this whole thing. Not too much to do everything, not too much hypiness, just going around with the league, doing all the reviews and all kinds of stuff. But this program is not over, ladies and gentlemen. You want a faker quote? You get a faker quote. This channel wants faker, you get faker, ladies and gentlemen. So he did an interview with Armand Leclerc for the Chibi Sports interview. It's a 3-minute interview. Of course, I'll read it because plenty of time. So it said that oh, wait a minute. Oh Jesus, this is outdated. Oh God, this is outdated. This is outdated by a month. Whoops. Yeah, that's not great. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to talk about. You know, LEC, the LEC, I already mentioned about the LEC, and then of course Camilo with the interview and all kinds of stuff with all that jazz. Vulcan done anything, the LTA qualification and all kinds of stuff. Let's just quickly look at the LTA team that qualified for the regional championships and all that jazz. So there's two remaining spots, of course. That'll be Loud, Leviton, Isres, and Vloxmoo. And then the Skies, Dignitas, and Lion 100Ds, Cloud9, and Team Liquid will fight for the final spot and all kinds of stuff to take place on the September 23rd, which will determine the conferences and, of course, will determine who will go to Worlds. Remember, 2 teams from the North and then 1 team from the South. Kill this naming, please. So anyways, that should do it. Nothing too much to say. A little quick one, 30 minutes, nothing too overhype, of course. And it's a Monday, so nothing big going on with all the news and all that kind of stuff. Just a little quick around and go all through the stuff of League of Legends and all kind of stuff. We're 8 weeks away from League of Legends Worlds. So lots of stuff as we get to the business end of Worlds and the business end of some regions. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe to this video and to all my videos that I'm doing, including shorts. Probably going to get back to the shorts game in soon. And, of course, subscribe to my sports channel when I do all the sports, including Premier League, tennis, and all that jazz. So thank you for watching. My name is Mackie, and I'll see you a little bit.